What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. Today I got two new fragrances here for you guys from a pretty brand new house called Mindgames, which has been getting a lot of hype on social media lately. Specifically, these two fragrances. I've been seeing a lot of reviews of these two on YouTube and Instagram, so I kind of decided to get my hand on these two and see what's all the buzz about. So today, it's going to be a fun video. We're just going to unbox these, and I'm going to do a first impression of these two and see what they smell like. The first one that we're going to unbox is going to be Grandmaster, and the second one is going to be Blockade. All right, so Mindgames has two cool collections, Soulmate, all about strong and united vibes, and Artesian, made by Perfume Pros. The bottles, as you will see, look awesome, and the scents match their vibes as well. Whether you're feeling like a determined soulmate pawn or a clever artesian piece, each fragrance has its own story that mixes things up in a very cool way. The bottle is just very beautiful, very high quality. It has this wooden part. Is it wood? I don't know, but it kind of looks like a wood finish. Very cool looking. And there's the front, Mindgames Grandmaster, and again it has the two most prominent notes that's supposed to be in this fragrance in the front, which is Coffee Absolute, or actually sorry, Rose Absolute and Coffee. All right, so let's spray this and see what we get. All right, so I do have to say that I'm in love with the bottle. I mean, how can you not love this bottle? It's just so gorgeous. And the note's been kind of spoiling the initial first impression, because obviously you know you're going to get coffee and rose, but there is something surprising to it, which I will get to. But something interesting, I would say that people would naturally go ahead and compare this to Intense Cafe by Montal, which I could see why, because it is the most well-known fragrance in this genre. I could also see people comparing this to Black Phantom as well. And also, I believe that they might also compare this to Mystic Experience by Initial Parfum Privé as well. But since I spray those a lot and I've used them so many times, I don't really see any similarities, not even similarities, yes. I just see that they all are kind of a coffee kind of a scent, but this is completely a different fragrance. Now, getting back to what I wanted to mention initially, obviously you read the notes and it says Rose Absolute. And regarding the Rose Absolute, I don't get a lot of rose in here initially. The rose is not very prominent, specifically when it says Rose Absolute. So I was thinking I'm going to get this very Middle Eastern smelling, lush kind of a rose, like a Bulgarian rose or something, and you do not get that. You get this very subdued, westernized kind of a rose that's so smoothly blended that you could barely tell it's there. Very beautiful, very sophisticated. And the coffee is very interesting, that the coffee is definitely there, and it's very elegant coffee, and it's not this roasted kind of a coffee. And it feels kind of creamy, but yet it's spicy as well. There's some spiciness that counterpoints that creaminess and milkiness of that coffee, which stops it from becoming a too gourmandish kind of a scent. But it's just so well blended and it's so smooth. Again, as I mentioned, this is not too rosy as I was expecting from that name Rose Absolute, at least to me. It does have a touch of powdery, lemony ambience of rose, but it's not too powerful, so it doesn't go too powdery. It stays a little bit fresh, but with a woody, sturdy body to it with a nice three-dimensional depth, if you will. Now, the rose comes off a bit airy and not cloying, which is a good thing, specifically to people that are not into rose fragrances. This is definitely very unisex, but it does lean a little bit on the masculine side because of that spiciness of the coffee and the strong woodiness of it. I would say it leans a little bit more on the masculine side. Again, what stands out the most for me is that spiciness. I get this tart, slightly sharp sweetness in here that reminiscence of berry notes or fruity notes. So I don't know if it's coming from black currant or pink pepper, but I do think that there's some pink pepper in here because of that very prominent fresh spiciness, which is very fruity and also has some rosy undertones to it. And pink pepper has that. Definitely has this berry-like fruity notes to it, which complements the rose very well because it does have a rosy undertones to it as well. Now, to me, again, this is more of an amber fragrance because I do smell now the big amber body in here, but it is a fresh kind of an amber scent. It is warm, spicy, but with a bit of freshness and airiness of rose, which makes it very interesting. Now, the coffee is lurking its way in as we're talking right now. And as I mentioned earlier, the coffee is very milky and smooth kind of a coffee. It's not your roasted dark coffee as some would be expecting from the look of the bottle and the name, you know, like the two major notes that it says on the bottle, coffee and Rose Absolute. You would be thinking that you're getting this velvety rose, strong rose smell, and this roasted black coffee kind of a smell, which is very gothic and very dark. And you're not really getting that. It's actually more of a fresh, aromatic, but yet warm, spicy kind of a scent that's very woody and sophisticated. I also get this warm, balsamic sweetness as well from this scent, which again, I haven't looked at the notes, so I don't know where it's coming from, either benzoin or myrrh, but there's definitely some balsamicness to this scent as well, which is kind of warm. But again, the structure is very interesting because it has this, as I mentioned, warm spiciness to it, but it's also kind of fresh spicy at the same time, which has a balsamic body to it as well. Yeah, it is definitely very woody, somewhat smoky because I have a lot of smoky fragrances. It doesn't come off as smoky. There is some very faint smokiness in the background, which the smokiness doesn't come off as roasted coffee smokiness, but rather either from birch or burnt incense kind of a smokiness, but very, very faint, nothing too strong. So anyone that's not into smoky fragrances, don't be afraid of this scent. So again, what I love about this scent is the blending is so smooth and it's so well-rounded that it's very difficult to cherry pick the notes and be like, oh, it's smoky and the rose is here and the coffee's here. Everything is just like one note and it's just so well done. It's very flawless and top shelf kind of a production or creation as far as the scent goes. All right, so I let this sit for a while and I took some break to let it to dry down, and something very interesting happened to this. So in the dry down, what I'm getting in this is that I get some floral notes. And the floral notes, they have still this fruitiness to them, which you get those fruitiness on the opening. But now you get some hints of floral notes, and the floral notes have this very unique smell to it, which I truly love in fragrances. I get this very unique, subtle touch of iris or violet's powdery dewiness, which is very beautiful. And that makes me fall in love with this fragrance even more. I mean, it just makes it so sophisticated, elegant, sexy, and a perfect scent for dating. Yeah, I get this kind of, I don't know if it's iris or this kind of like violet's powdery dewiness, just makes it so elegant. Now, additionally, what I read about this a little bit was that a lot of people were saying that this is a gourmand kind of a scent, and to me, it's not gourmand at all, besides the fact that it has some milky coffee in it, but it doesn't really come off as a gourmand scent. And the rose, which can add to the gourmandness of a scent, it's very fresh and airy, and it's not as powdery as you would think. And the fragrance, again, does have a beautiful amber body to it, but the amber body has this very strong woody texture to it, which stops it from becoming edible or gourmand kind of a scent. So to me, again, it's not a gourmand scent, but it's very well made, it's very well blended, and very sophisticated. All right, so next we got Blockade by Mindgames. Let's unbox it and see what we get. Wow, look at that. Now that is a cap. Beautiful. It also has the notes written up front. There's the back. Blockade. God, the bottles are just incredible. Look at this cap. I mean, I already showed it to you guys, but Jesus. All right, so this is incredible. Very beautiful. It does remind me of a very famous fragrance, but it's not. But it does remind me for sure. So I have to say that the opening of this one is absolutely gorgeous. Very beautiful. I mean, it's very mass pleasing, it's very smoldering and attention grabbing. It's somewhat, it's definitely fresh, it's somewhat tropical, and it's also sweet, but it's tart at the same time, which balances out that fruity tropical sweetness of the scent. Yeah, the opening, you get this big tropical fruity cocktail opening, which is very exotic and attention grabbing. So this one has one of the most beautiful opening as far as like the fresh fragrances goes. It definitely has that right off the bat. When you spray it, it's just very smooth, very well blended, and Jesus, is just so gorgeous. And it does remind me of a fragrance that a lot of people would definitely think of when they spray this right away, which is supposed to be Creed Aventus, which I do have that. And because I knew that this is going to be the case, I went ahead and got my Creed Aventus, which is right here, and I sprayed it, and it is right here. And they are different, very different. I mean, you can say that they fall under the same category, but this one has such an incredible smooth opening. So beautiful. Like, I prefer this over Creed Aventus. Very nice. I mean, this is absolutely very gorgeous. I would say that it has almost like a designerish kind of a feel to it. This is harsh when you compare it to this, and is not as smooth as Blockade, and it's different. This one is very woody, where this one is more tropical, and there is some fruity notes in here, which makes it very interesting. So again, I'm just blown away by this opening. It's just so gorgeous, so mass pleasing. You know, I'm so glad that I sprayed Creed Aventus on the side. Yeah, because initially, if you would be inside a store and smelling this by itself, you would be like Creed Aventus, but that's not what I get. Very different. Wow. So there is this sourness in here, which is really interesting. There's this lush, mouth-watering sourness, which has to be some green mango, I guess, in here as well, which gives it an exotic tropical edge to the fragrance. But also, what's interesting is that because I'm comparing it to Creed Aventus feels so spicy, and so woody, where this one feels kind of sweet, tropical, zesty, sour, tart. And it says that the main notes, one of the main notes is peppercorn, but I don't really get that much of the pungent, spicy, warm spiciness from the peppercorn in here. I don't get that. I mean, there is some spiciness in here, but it's not as much as I would be expecting. The same thing with the Rose Absolute when we're talking about it. So I'm not really getting that. Can be the blending, which is so smooth as we talked about, but I don't really get that. But again, to me, this feels something that it would become a hit fragrance. And I think a lot of mango fragrances, they have that aura to them that they become hit fragrances if they're done right. And this one has one of the most beautiful opening, and I think that mango just hits the right spot in this one. Very gorgeous. So again, very mass pleasing, very mass appealing, gorgeous, smoldering, but yet youthful, sophisticated, and extremely well blended. It is a very versatile kind of a fragrance. Yeah, this comes off very easy to reach kind of a scent. It's made to be worn on daily basis, and it has one of the killer opening, one of the most beautiful opening I have ever smelled as far as fresh fragrances goes. Very beautiful. Yeah. And also, I did mention that before as well, it does have this designerish aspect to it to make it very mass appealing, but yet it's very sophisticated, classy, and smoldering at the same time. As the fragrance is opening up more, it's keeping its tropical fruitiness, which is a good thing, because I was afraid that's going to lose that, but it's definitely there. And it's gorgeous, very beautiful. But what I'm also getting, I'm getting this hint of faint florals in here as well, which is very beautiful. Extremely aromatic, definitely has balanced sweetness to it. Fresh spicy, which might be coming from that peppercorn now that I'm thinking of it, with invigorating, zesty, bright citrusy nuances. So it has all the elements for a easy to reach kind of a scent, as I mentioned earlier. It definitely has some green facets to it as well, with some soft, spicy undertones. Now, again, this is absolutely a gorgeous fragrance. I will definitely wear the heck out of this one, specifically when spring and summer comes, because this definitely has my name written all over it. Alright, you guys, so that was my first impression and unboxing of Blockade and Grandmaster by Mindgames. Again, just a quick thing, if you guys decide to get this, make sure you never pick it up by the cap because it's not as sturdy, the bottle is very heavy and it can fall and it can break. So definitely avoid doing that, always grab it from the bottom. The other thing I wanted to mention really quickly, I have to say, even though this does remind me of Credaventus, there are differences between them. But I have to say that if you smell this by itself initially, right away, you're going to be thinking of Credaventus and you're going to say that this is something that is alongside Credaventus, or it comes off as like a clone of Credaventus. But if you spray them side by side, you will see that there are major differences to them. So again, to each their own, and it's very subjective. But I wanted to put that out there because I didn't want people to try this out and be like, hey, you know, we tried it and to me it smells exactly like Credaventus. Again, it's very difficult because of the batches that you have. I have the old batch of Credaventus and mine is very smoky, my Credaventus, and definitely has a big dose of birch in it. And this one doesn't have any smokiness in it. So, and this one is definitely sweeter than Credaventus. So it's definitely different. There are some differences, but they do fall under the same category. I wanted to kind of mention that. And that's pretty much it. That's it. Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you guys soon with another video, and bye.